Haiti is facing a crisis of, well, staggering proportions. The government has almost completely collapsed, so today, we're going to break down a really detailed and frankly pretty controversial proposal from a consultancy called Tag9 Inc. And what's fascinating is that it looks for a solution not in the future, but in Haiti's own imperial past.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we need to understand the sheer scale of the crisis right now. Then we'll dive into the proposed strategy, including how its central state board would be put together and what its 3-year roadmap looks like. And finally, we'll touch on the huge challenges that, even the plan itself admits it would have to face.
Before we can even begin to unpack a plan this radical, you've got to understand just how dire the situation in Haiti really is. I mean, the term governance vacuum barely does it justice. Okay, let this sink in for a second. Since January 2023, there have been 0 elected officials in office. It's not just a political fight or some kind of gridlock, it's a total and complete void. The National Assembly is empty. There is literally no one at the wheel with a democratic mandate to run the country.
And you know what happens when there's a vacuum, right? Something always rushes in to fill it. In this case, it's armed gangs. It's estimated they now control a staggering 85% of the capital, Port-au-Prince. The state has essentially lost control, and that has created an absolutely devastating security crisis for millions of people.
And these aren't just abstract numbers, right? This has a massive, massive human cost. We're talking about over 1 million people forced to flee their homes because of the violence. More than half the country is living in poverty. And a basic utility, something we take for granted like electricity, well, it's a luxury that most Haitians simply don't have.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's a big one. So what's a potential solution? Well, in response to this crisis, the consultancy Tag9 Inc. has put forward a really detailed strategy for restoration. Let's dig into the core of their idea. At the heart of this whole plan is something they call the State Board. It's a 7-member group, and its main job is to steer the country out of this chaos. Their very first task would be to choose a single unifying leader. And get this, the proposal is specific here, suggesting either a transitional organizer president or a king. From there, the board would kickstart the long, hard work of rebuilding Haiti's government.
Now, you might be thinking, a king? Where did that come from? Well, there's a deep historical reason for this. The proposal pulls directly from Haiti's own history, specifically from the post-revolutionary empire of Haiti under leaders like Jean-Jacques Dessalines. The thinking is that this model offers a blueprint for strong, centralized authority that is culturally significant and could, just maybe, unify the country today.
So how would this state board actually get put together? The plan lays out a pretty specific blueprint for how it would work. The board is designed to bring together 7 key parts of society. You've got the military for security, the Supreme Court for legal oversight, and a legislative figure for a sense of political continuity. But it also includes a journalist for transparency, a religious leader for that cultural touchstone, a youth representative, which is huge given Haiti's young population, and finally, a consultant from Tag9 Inc. itself, kind of to help organize the whole process.
But it doesn't just stop with those 7 people. Not even close. To really build legitimacy from the ground up, the plan calls for a huge national conversation that brings in 21 different sectors of Haitian life. The whole idea is to get a real cross-section of Haitian society to the table. We're talking about everybody, from farmers' unions and public school teachers to tech workers, port workers, healthcare professionals, and even cultural artisans. The goal is to make sure that each of these groups has a real voice in shaping what comes next. Okay, so that's the who. But what about the how and the when? This isn't just a vague idea. For pulling the nation back from the brink. But it all boils down to this one huge question. Can a framework inspired by a 19th century empire really solve the incredibly complex political, social, and security crises of 21st century Haiti?
Bonjour, bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs, à tous et à toutes. Bienvenue, nous venons la CAI, consultant économique et spirituel. Et aussi la voix diplomatique des indigènes haïtiens, conformément à la Constitution mandéli, et nous la jeudi à la. Je dis à notre moyen pile causé, une cause nouvellement, c'est violation de loi. Qui gens, ils ont l'armée, gen droit pour c'est l'armée pour lui, et puis pas l'armée pas, ils sont l'armée protéger et servir. Or, ça n'a pas existé aucun côté sous l'histoire d'Haïti, côté que nous avons l'armée qui les protéger et servir. L'armée n'a pas doué aucun contrôle. L'armée a mission, c'est pour le veiller tout le monde qui a mal marché. Ou mal marché le mao, c'est ça fait l'armée a contre bail coup d'état. Depuis président, ministre, n'a pas fait ça à faire, l'armée a doué marrer. L'armée paraît à moun. Et mais ces journées, je dis là, nous pour aller, et dans petit bat de bouche, nous fait dans 2 lettres publiques, nous devons à Jean-Michel, nous allons voyer en lettre bali là pour demander arrestation Jean-Michel. Nous connaissons que le système corrompu a pas fait monsieur révoquer tête li. Parce que son base franc-maçon, et nous connaissons tout bagaille là. Nous connaissons tout radio, à pas empêcher que nous parlons avec peuple là. Nous connaissons. Mais grande bagaille que nous connaissons tout, c'est que nous connaissons que c'est liberté ou l'amour, il n'y a pas de monde qui a fait pas parler. Pour jeune peuple là. Nous connaissons AI qui est capable de faire internet là slow. On commencer par les business bien propres. Moi, commence à mettre bagaille au dehors, yo font un message pour moi yo dit konya là ou 85% internet ou ak vin slow. M'bo occupé yo. Comment non? T'allais à me sauter là je dis mon problème internet. Comment fait mon problème internet là? Comment non? M'ba jamais ka font live sur Instagram à cause de message m'a bay. Jusqu'à jeudi là, m'ka devant pour Instagram là me dit m'ba internet. M'a chita bo. M'a chita bo serveur Instagram m'a dit m'ba internet. M'ba foué bouche pour dans affaires américaines moi-même. M'ba quand ennemi d'état. M'ba parler affaire United States. Mais pas gen moun qui ka fait m'pa parler d'Haïti. Ça est liberté ou là mon chéri, nous va pour être pour ça. Soit un tième et puis m'geta fin compte trop bagaille. Vous pas comprendre non? A dit geta trop table moi. Mais oh, ça dit live la geta coupé là. Oh. Live la coupe encore. Yo coupé live là. Y'a non t'es mais c'est.